Bobby Seale is going through all types of physical and mental torture. But that's all right, because we said even before this happened, and we're going to say it after this, and after I'm locked up, and after everybody's locked up, that you can jail revolutionaries, but you can't jail a revolution. Bye.
Imagine being so influential that the US government marked you for death before your 22nd birthday. Imagine being so feared that they decided the safest way to deal with you was to kill you in your sleep. And imagine the truth, hidden, buried, and denied for decades. This is not a spy thriller. This is Chicago 1969. And the man they silenced was Fred Hampton.
Hanrahan, can you tell me why your officers did not try to use tear gas? Isn't this the usual procedure to flush someone out of a building?
Our officers used the means necessary to effect the search and to prevent themselves from being killed upon after they were fired upon.
Isn't it true that your men usually use tear gas in situations such as this, and why didn't they use it this time?
No, that is not true.
I have the pleasure now to introduce who I believe is one of the baddest motherfuckers in the world. A man that did something that a lot of us ought to be very glad that he did. He was a part of making the only party which exists in the United States today that represents the people. As a matter of fact, he was one half. Him and Huey P. Newton started out in 1966. Sometimes I think where some of us were in 1966. I think what we would have said if we'd heard about going out in the street talking about carrying some guns, fighting all them policemen because we didn't know they were pigs out there in the streets.
Fred Hampton was no ordinary activist. At just 21 years old, he was already the rising star of the Black Panther Party, uniting poor Black, white, and Latino communities, feeding thousands through free breakfast programs, and calling for an end to police brutality. To some, he was a hero. To the FBI, he was a threat. On December 4th, 1969, a pre-dawn police raid, backed by FBI intelligence, left him dead in his bed. Official reports claimed a gun battle, but eyewitnesses said it was an execution. Here's what the history books don't tell you. The man guarding Hampton's door that night, William O'Neill, had been working for the FBI all along. Hours before the raid, he allegedly slipped a powerful sedative into Hampton's drink. By the time the police stormed in, he was unconscious. He never stood a chance. And this wasn't a one-off. It was part of COINTELPRO, a covert FBI program designed to neutralize Black leaders before they could become what the Bureau called a Black Messiah. Hampton wasn't just killed. He was removed with precision, following an assassination blueprint that had been perfected over years. Hampton believed in creating new possibilities, and in that same spirit, here's your shot to build your own. AI is exploding right now. And this is your chance to ride the wave and actually cash in. It's called AI Side Hustle, 100 Simple Ways to Earn Online. Not just an ebook, a full done-for-you package, 100 step-by-step hustles, 3 bonus guides to launch, grow, and automate, and resale rights so you can flip it and keep every dollar. Picture this, AI blogging for passive income, selling logos and t-shirts, even growing YouTube channels with AI scripts and thumbnails. No coding, no stress, just clear steps you can follow today. The opportunity's right here. Don't sit on the sidelines. Grab AI Side Hustle, 100 ways to earn online now. And the best part, you can pay whatever you want. Yeah, whatever you want. No catch. Click below, start your journey, and let's get back to the story.
Got together, Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. Yes, they got together with guns, and there's nothing wrong with that, because we need some guns. Black people need some peace. White people need some peace. And we are going to have to fight. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to struggle relentlessly to bring about some peace, because the people that we're asking for peace, they're a bunch of wrong us, and they don't even understand what peace means. And we've got to fight them. We've got to struggle with them to make them understand what peace means.
Chapter 1. The blueprint begins. To understand what happened in that Chicago apartment, we have to understand the method. By 1967, the FBI was running a top-secret operation, COINTELPRO, with one mission: to disrupt, discredit, and destroy domestic groups it considered subversive. The process was methodical: surveillance, endless files, wiretaps, photographs of leaders, friends, and family; infiltration, trusted allies who were actually paid informants; destabilization, planting false rumors, turning allies against each other; elimination, removing the target permanently, one way or another. Fred Hampton's rise checked every box. He wasn't just charismatic, he was building coalitions across racial lines. To the FBI, that was dangerous. William O'Neill entered Hampton's life as a loyal bodyguard. In reality, he was a small-time criminal facing prison, offered freedom in exchange for betrayal. Over months, he earned Hampton's trust, mapped his home, and reported everything to the FBI. By November 1969, the Bureau had what it needed: Hampton's speeches, his daily routine, even the layout of his apartment, all were in their hands. But O'Neill didn't know one thing: the Bureau planned to take this further than infiltration. And when the order came down, it would turn a quiet Chicago night into one of the most controversial killings in modern American history.
I remember walking out of the office and looking through a little clearing over on the next block, which was right in front of the Monroe Street address, and seeing a lot of police cars over there. And at that time, Bobby Rush came to the office. He had just come from over there, or maybe the coroner's office. In any case, we walked back over there, and we both were speechless. We just walked through the house and saw what had taken place and where he died, and it was shocking. And then I just began to realize that the information that I supplied leading up to that moment had facilitated that raid. I knew that indirectly I had contributed, and I felt it, and I felt bad about it. And then I got mad, and then I had to conceal those feelings, which made it worse. I couldn't say anything. I just had to continue to play the role.
Chapter 2. The night of the raid. It's 4:45 a.m., December 4th, 1969. The apartment at 2337 West Monroe Street is dark and still. Inside, Fred Hampton sleeps beside his fiancée, 8 months pregnant. In the living room, O'Neill's alleged sedative has done its work. Hampton is motionless. 14 Chicago police officers approach in the freezing dark. They carry shotguns, pistols, and a detailed floor plan, courtesy of O'Neill. The first shot is fired, then another. Within seconds, the apartment is echoing with gunfire. Witnesses say the police fire over 90 rounds. The Panthers fire back, once. In Hampton's bedroom, officers stand over his unconscious body. One shot to the head, a second point blank. A voice is heard. He's good and dead now. By 5 a.m., Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, another Panther, are dead. The official report calls it self-defense. But the evidence and the witnesses tell a far different story.
I said, I remember seeing sparks of light coming like across the doorway to the bedroom. The person that was in the room with us said, stop shooting, we have a pregnant woman in here. Eventually the shooting stopped, and we were coming out. I was in front of the person that came in the room to wake Fred up, and we had our hands up, and then they started shooting again, and I just knew they were going to kill us. And one of the police grabbed me by the hair, and they opened my robe. I was 9 months pregnant. They said, what do you know, we got a broad here. And they pulled me by the hair and pushed me through the line of police and pushed me into the kitchen area. I think the shooting started back again, and I heard somebody call from area in front of the kitchen area. He's barely alive. He'll barely make it. Shooting started again. I heard a male voice again say, "He's good and dead now."
Chapter 3. The Cover-Up. The morning news frames the raid as a dangerous gun battle. Police display seized weapons, claiming Panthers opened fire first. But survivors tell a different story. They were ambushed, unarmed, and fired only a single shot in self-defense. Photographs of the bullet holes reveal a disturbing truth. Most shots came from outside the apartment, aimed inward. Community outrage explodes. Activists accuse the police of cold-blooded murder. The FBI denies involvement, of course. Meanwhile, O'Neill quietly returns to the FBI payroll. His identity as the informant remains hidden for years. Legal battles stretch into the 1970s. Only when declassified documents surface does the truth emerge. COINTELPRO explicitly targeted Hampton, labeling him a potential black messiah who could unify the poor. The floor plan O'Neill provided, the sedative, the pre-dawn timing, all match the FBI's standard elimination protocol. But the most shocking revelations about Hampton's death wouldn't surface until decades later. And by then, the damage was irreversible.
The next thing I remember was someone in our room shaking Chairman Fred. Chairman, wake up, wake up. Plaster was flying off the wall. You could smell the cordite from the gunshot. If you've ever been under gunfire, 5 minutes is 5 hours. To you, it seems like forever. The shooting started back again. Then another voice unfamiliar to me said, "He's good and dead now." I knew they were talking about Chairman Fred.
Chapter 4. The truth emerges. By the late 1980s, O'Neill's role is public knowledge. Interviewed in the documentary Eyes on the Prize 2, he admits giving the FBI the floor plan, but insists he was following orders. Days after the interview airs, O'Neill dies, reportedly running into traffic in an apparent suicide. For Hampton's family, there is no closure. Civil suits drag on for years. In 1982, a settlement awards $1.85 million to the survivors and families, not as an admission of guilt, but as the government's way of closing the book, the blueprint used on Hampton. Surveillance, infiltration, elimination has been studied by historians as a chilling example of how democratic governments can silence dissent while maintaining plausible deniability. Hampton's death wasn't random violence. It was the calculated removal of a political threat.
Mr. Montgomery, Dr. Constantino testified today that Mark Clark could not have struggled after receiving that shot through the heart. Now, in your mind, does this contradict the testimony of Officer Davis, who described a struggle?
Yes, it seems to me that that was a very startling thing. We also learned that the bullet, which was in fact recovered from Mr. Hampton's body, was a bullet fired out of a carbine by Officer Davis. So that indicates also that Officer Davis may well have walked into that back bedroom, contrary to his testimony, and fired a shot into the body of Fred Hampton at one point in time or other.
The lasting impact. Fred Hampton once said, "You can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution." His assassination became a symbol of government overreach, proof that the ideals of justice, equality, and solidarity can outlive even the most charismatic of leaders. In classrooms, his speeches are dissected not just for their passion, but for their political sophistication, a reminder of how ideas can unite people across barriers that power prefers to keep in place. But the assassination blueprint used against Hampton didn't end in 1969. It evolved. becoming less about midnight raids and more about subtle, deniable tactics. Today, many governments use the same 4 steps Hampton faced: surveillance, infiltration, destabilization, and elimination. Only now, the elimination is often political, reputational, or through imprisonment. Look at modern Russia. Opposition leaders like Alexei Navalny face years of surveillance, infiltration of their movements, coordinated smear campaigns in state media, and eventual removal through arrests, poisoning, or exile. In some cases, critics die suddenly under mysterious circumstances, their deaths officially accidents or illnesses. The pattern is the same, the blueprint unchanged. A rising figure with the ability to unite people becomes a target. The methods adapt to the era, but the goal is constant: silence the voice before it becomes unstoppable. So the question is no longer whether we'd recognize it, it's whether we're willing to admit we're seeing it, right now, at all, and whether we'd be willing to call it out anymore. Join us next week for 13 Hours of Tyranny, the gripping true story of the 2012 Benghazi attack that shook America to its core.